Welcome back. Episode 50 of the Ground Up podcast.
What have I been up to other than swinging?
Let's get down to business.
Rachel Reeves bets the house on 60,000 new bricklayers to help jumpstart the economy.
For us to get 60,000 employed, that's, not really even touching the size of what we've already lost.
Accessing our encrypted messaging systems. So what's going on?
You're only free if you're law-abiding to their laws.
Sunning myself up in my new duck shorts.
Whee!
You do know pedos wear duck shorts, don't you? I was like, what?
It's funny, as you was talking about swingers, I was reading the list of billionaires. I think you can only get that dynamic on this podcast.
Ground up sound, ooh, yeah. Real estate deals. We lay them down, let's get those deals. Deals, deals making money, baby.
Welcome back. Episode 50 of the Ground Up podcast. And today we've got quite a docket. We've got, going to be going through Rachel Reeves' new budget or winter spring statement, whatever you want to call it, and how they're going to add, a workforce of bricklayers and joiners and all those sorts of labour people that we need in construction. And we're going to go through that. There's also some other bits that have come out, and Croydon have started to bring in facial recognition cameras to the high street, which I think is quite interesting. Going to cover that. And then a load of theme parks are closing down and going bust because of the pressures of employment and things like that across the UK. So we'll be covering that as well. And then we'll be having some idle chit-chat. So make sure you enjoy this episode. Big love. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you're a new viewer, we are the Ground Up Podcast. We release these episodes every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. on Spotify and YouTube. We're all property developers and we get around and talk about business and property every week. So I hope you enjoy. Today, got Stuart Wythe here. Hello, Mr. Stu. Jack Jiggins. Did you say Jiggins then, or is it Jiggins?
So you spell it Jiggins, you pronounce it Jiggins. It's kind of like a hybrid between the two.
Yeah. Jiggins. Jiggins. Yeah. And we will have Dorian Payne as well. He's just, he's running late, which is unlike him. So
Standard.
Yeah, maybe it's standard.
Sorry, guys.
What's his excuse? What's his excuse to be? He's late to the gym. His kids were playing up. There was traffic.
He's in London.
He locked himself out. Oh, he's in London, is he? Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did. Fucking OD.
I reckon he's going to blame it on Wi-Fi. I was looking for Wi-Fi.
He's looking for Wi-Fi everywhere.
www.thehilton.net.
Fucking hell. He'll be here soon, though. And you got myself, Ryan Beaumont. And make sure you enjoy this. I'm just going to start this episode by saying, please subscribe. If you listen to this right now, or follow us on Spotify, whichever way you want to work it, but just click that button. And also, pause this if you want. Just pause it, but not before I've told you what you need to do. Pause it and then share it with at least 3, 4, 5, 10 people, group chats on your WhatsApp. Just share it with people who might find it interesting. You're helping us out. You're doing us a solid. So please make sure you do that. Dorian Payne has just arrived. Here he is.
Hello, indeed. Do you want me to put this landscape or portrait?
Landscape.
Are you ready for school, buddy?
You brush your teeth? Yeah. Ready to go make some money. I'm in the big smoke. I've got to look professional.
Are you running late? We just want to know the reason why.
Yeah, it's a good question, Stuart. Basically, I had an important email I had to do prior to this. We've got a completion that's hopefully happening today, but there's a big list that came in literally last night, and I was in a meeting until quite late because I came to London, and as you will appreciate, when I'm here, I like to, hit. I was going to say kill two birds with one stone, but I don't want to start apologizing to animal welfare people. Anyway, I put an Instagram post out saying I'm going to be in London, got meetings, who wants to meet up for dinner? And actually I had a few hits back. So we went to a steak place, Hawksmoor, I think it was called. And it was actually good fun.
Yeah, I couldn't understand between your nice thick accent, your Welsh accent, and the noise in the background and the waiter what you were saying. But you were saying you were with some followers or something, or some people watching the pod.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes, like I said, I go into like restaurants, it was rammed and they're busy, and we started talking, and I'll just pull out my phone or my GoPro, got my GoPro with me, and I'll just start recording and be like, and basically we were talking about just property and business, and then one of the guys mentioned Ground Up and the Ground Up podcast, and then actually it turns out all three of them are listeners, and actually, some of them listen to most episodes, so. And then I pulled out the phone and I was like, "Oh, look, look at the chance of that. Arranged to come have dinner. They've turned up. Property people listening to the Ground Up, raving about it." And then I started asking for live feedback, basically, and the feedback was all around Stuart. So
Yeah, look at one of them was to speak slower, and the other one was
Yeah,
to talk into the microphone.
yeah, one of them was to speak slow, and the other was to talk into the microphone. Yeah,
That's practically impossible, mate.
Stu, you do speak far when you're going. Jeez.
yeah.
I think you breathe through your ears when you're talking because your mouth doesn't do any breathing.
When I'm in sales, I think people look at me, and when I'm talking, when I know what I'm talking about, and I just go, they look at me and just like been hit by a bus, and I think they just buy on the basis that they think, God, this guy.
They just want you to shut up. They're just like,
Yeah,
oh,
just shut up, get out of my house.
I'll pay
We'll
you
buy.
80 grand for a loft. Just get out of my house.
Oh no, it's been a problem since I was a kid. I just love to talk, unfortunately.
Fire on the basis of because you come across as very passionate whilst doing that, don't you? And people are like, I don't know what he understood. As if I just want a bit of it. So,
Well, just a little shout out as well to those guys. We got this video here, haven't we? Where is it? I won't play the audio because it's a bit crackly, but there they are. 3 avid listeners of the pod. One of them is part of the Ground Up Network as well, right?
So we got there's Pretty, and who sat next to me, and there's Will, and you know the other guy, Jack. He joined up the Ground Up Network last week.
Fucking geezer.
Is that Pretty from Wales? Is she from Wales?
She's got sites in Pembrokeshire, but she lives in London. They found
Right, okay. Might be a different Pretty I'm thinking of.
No, she did come to your site, Stuart, yeah.
Oh, does she?
Pembrokeshire is in Wales, I think, isn't it?
Pardon?
Pembrokeshire is just outside Wales, isn't it?
No, Pembrokeshire's in Wales, but I got a funny story. I was at an event yesterday, and I was speaking to this young girl, and she's a lovely girl, and she just part of the usual networking, and she was saying that she's currently studying in Bath University. She was like one of the helpers there. Her dad was working at the event or whatever, and then I said, "Oh," she asked me like where I'm from, and I said, "Oh, my office is in Swansea." And she said, "Oh, I've been to Swansea." I said, "Oh, have you?" She said, "Yeah, but when I have to go from Bath to Manchester, we cut through Wales and go through Swansea." I was like, "That's not like it's just
The scenic route right round Wales.
Newport." She meant Newport.
All right.
Right.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah, bless her.
Well, guys, let's do a little round robin. Check on how everyone's getting on. Stu, how's business? How's sites?
Business is good, mate. Yeah, we're flying. We're very, very close on the bank. We're just about to kick off on Twickenham. I spent yesterday going around London, Notting Hill. Went to work to see this phenomenal house. I've never been into something so architecturally creative. Really, it was an old post office. One of the best commercial terraces I've ever seen. Really, so it's behind a shop parade, Notting Hill. It's quite central. Very flat plate, so it was 4 floors high. 2 floors is basically living over 2 floors. But those houses that are like 4 stories high in central London that are a bit of a pain. You leave your mobile phone on the 4th floor, you're up and down them stairs all day. So this was quite a unique setting where you went in through the back door. He had this glass garage with some lovely McLarens, a P1, a 720. You go down these steps into this beautiful big entertaining space with a big kitchen, this massive atrium, like the Japanese feng shui thing going on. Glass that's like 3 floors high, and then the basement. And on the other side, there was this beautiful green wall with some lovely steps down into, which was the swimming pool, the sauna, steam room, gym. The swimming pool was unbelievable. It had like this 4 or 5 inch thick, like toughened laminated glass right down the ones, like 2/3 of one side, and it like divided up the sauna and steam room, so you could sort of sit in the steam room and watch people in the pool and stuff. It was just brilliant, and had a nice roof terrace on top, but you'd never know it was there. It's between like 2 rows of houses, in between the gardens of these houses. So yeah, 3-year development. It's what was it? £12.5 million build cost. Yes, the developer. So it was a cash purchase. That I was with the builder who built it. Took 3 years to build, and then the guy whose house it was made his money in crypto. Can you believe? In Bitcoin. He made his money 10 years ago, and Middle England, lovely guy. Just bought the house off Foxton. So I was like, yeah, I'll pay. I think he paid 25 million for it about 3 years ago. It's probably worth about 30 mil. But yeah, it's insane. So it was with the builder, and went to another house in Notting Hill, which was a development. They've done 2 side by side a bomb hit the site during the war. Something shit was built on it. They knocked it down and replicated the end of the terraces right on the border between Shepherd's Bush and Notting Hill. I haven't been Notting Hill for years, but I mean the diversity between Shepherd's Bush and Notting Hill. It's like you walk from one street to the other. It's just like going into a different country. It's insane how it all feels. But anyway, this was a little bit too close to Shepherd's Bush versus what people want to pay. They're £5 million properties, and he was the builder. He's not the developer. So yeah, it was nice. It was a nice gig.
It sounds like something like Daniel was involved in or something.
Oh right, yeah, Daniel, yeah. No, this was a guy called Josh Pepper Property, I think, or Pepper Build. But yeah, lovely guy. First time I met him, but it was through Jewson's, the Jewson's group. I was invited down to come and have a look and see what they're up to. So yeah, and this other site was a £1.25 million build, and he built two next door to each other. So I'll put a little video up on social of that one, because the other one wasn't allowed to record, which is rightfully so. I mean, the guy was nice enough to. He wasn't even the guy of the builder. He just stayed in contact with the builder, and then he just let him show us around his house. So yeah, that's been my week, to be honest. And it's my birthday tomorrow, and then I'm off on a cruise for 2 weeks. So I will have to miss the episodes, unfortunately.
He's
It's
going to be
actually a
40.
big birthday for all of us. First one of us to hit the big full 0.
I know, man. I am really struggling with 40, to be honest. 30 I was fine with, but 40 I feel like I'm on the downhill slope now. So we'll see. We'll see if I come back after 40.
Mate,
But yeah, so I'm going to have to miss a few. But don't bring too many good guests on while I'm out. Sorry, Jack?
Yeah, rather than having 3 coffees and a green tea in the morning, it'll be 4 coffees and a green tea in the morning.
It will be, yeah. It will be. Before large coffees.
When we were doing our chat with the Ground Up Network yesterday evening, I said, Stu was like, I'm away on holiday for my birthday, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, we'll get some people in. He was like, well, don't make sure they're not too good.
Yeah, I don't want to miss
You got a serious FOMO.
Yeah, don't be going, I will have to log on. And if, you'll send the link for anyway. So if I do get 10 minutes, I might just jump on if I'm sunning myself up in my new duck shorts, mate, for the kids. But then I said these, I've got my mate some as well I'm going with, and they're only cheap Chinese things for a holiday. And then my missus this morning was like, you do know pedos wear duck shorts, don't you? I was like, what? I said, I'm not fucking taking them. And then she sent me this link a minute ago saying that they've got this thing on the cruise ship where they like hide little ducks and stuff. So I probably will leave them at home, to be honest. I'm not risking it. I don't know what it stands for in the modern world.
Fucking hell, Stu, you're amazing, mate. All right, Jack, how's your week? Any pedo ducks you've been hanging around with? Or
No, I got a similar story. I've got a top that's a shirt, like a really like light. Well, it's dark, but it's got pineapples all over it. And I actually wore it to a Madness show. You know, obviously the band Madness. And everyone was like extra friendly with me, like walking past, everybody like, wee! And I was like, what is going on? And then anyway, and I was just giving it all that. I was like, wee! And then later on, I found out that apparently that like pineapple symbols on your clothes means that you're a swinger.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
Stuart, don't
Didn't know
take
that.
pineapple on the cruise. Don't leave any pineapple outside your...
Yeah. What's that bush that lives outside with all the big long stems on the front? That's what this house had it when we bought it. What are they called? They're apparently a symbol for swinging.
Yeah, they are. I know exactly what I'm about because they're all over our wedding joint.
Yeah. Need to get out of the ground, but yeah.
Yeah. What have I been up to other than swinging this week? Apparently Henley has a really high population for swingers. Someone told me there's like an app.
Rich bored people.
A friend told me that there's an app that shows swinging people, and apparently Henley's really high up there. But anyway, what
you got into HMOs, local HMOs, bit of community living. You put chains up and
So welcome into your new home. This padded leather room is for whatever you want, really. Hi guys, don't don't stop for me. Yeah, we need to get the cleaner in there. It's a bit of smell.
Bit stinky.
Oh god, a bit early for 6 days. I mean, same as last week, really. Sites are good. We're actually finding on one of our sites, building controller being extremely pedantic, which is proving a little bit difficult to get a few things signed off, but nothing untoward. Just to give you a bit of an idea of the level of care that they're putting into it, is they're essentially making us draw up a technical plan of air natural, I think it's called like background ventilation, which is basically trickle vents in windows and things like that, and draw a schedule of how much that's trickling air, because I don't believe we're hitting the targets, and that's in a conversion. And that's holding up everything. That's holding up sales that want to get done before the end of the month for the stamp duty change. That's holding up our refinance. So, little things like that, bit niggly, tame, yeah. Um, but yeah, so we're kind of at the stage where we've got all of our sites are just like bullying on, cracking on, breaking down the barriers, getting those sites done, and some of them are being sold, which is all good. So I'm kind of a bit arm's length with XP, and we've got 3 new deals coming in, and one should complete in the next week or two, which is the bank. And then we've got 2 other ones which I'm capital raising for. And then XP Surveys is still going good guns. Central Suites is busy. We've got loads of projects on. And I'm just focusing then the majority of my time capital raising for the social housing portfolio. So yeah, capital raising, closing deals.
What's your plan with that? Are you going to exit that, or what's the plan with that? Stabilize it, exit? What are you going to do with that?
So the value in the portfolio is to basically hold tight for now, because we've a lot of people have said since the Liz Trust mini budget, a lot of income based portfolios have struggled because interest rates went up. People are buying, offices from where I'm located went from a 7% yield to a 9% yield, and that swing is your margin. Because if you look at 2% of 7%, that margin of whatever it is, that 30 something percent is the difference in value. So that our portfolio has essentially swung so much in value, it's not really worth exiting, because when we're crystallizing, essentially, break even / loss. But as the market corrected the wrong way, as the market went the wrong way, it's correcting itself fairly quickly. So we went from a sale in legals, which was a couple of weeks off completing, a 5.5% sale value, to it was shifted to about 9% in about 4 or 5 months. So to give you a bit of context, that's it going in value from about 22 to 23 million pounds to about 16 in a matter of months, maybe even weeks. But now it's correcting. It's coming back down. People are getting a bit more confidence in the space. Yield buyers are coming back in. People got funds they need to deploy, and we're now back to probably about 7% for our stocks. That's 10-year full repairing lease in London with an RP, but it was at 9. So it's already correcting. So, but essentially, the best value is to hold, because our mortgages are fixed. LHA rate changes most years, and it's averaging about 3% a year. So if we hold it for 5 years, that's obviously 15% increase on a fixed mortgage. So our margin moves up 15%, as well as the market's moving in the right direction. So that's also helping us. And interest rates are going in the right direction. So that also helps us. Equally to that, we've been paying off some of our mortgages on capital repayment. So the margin of profit is increasing, and there's no construction risk. It's already fully let out, no rent arrears, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, the best way to exit this portfolio is to hold it longer term. But some of our investors are like, well, we've been in this for 4 years now. Well, mainly one. Can we at least have some cash back to go and do other things with, and we'll leave essentially. That's why we're capital raising to recapitalise, and that's either coming in an equity or a loan. But because it's high cash flow as a portfolio, there's no construction risk, and it can pay an interest coupon, because it grosses about £1 million a year in rent. So it's now like quite a big beast that can service a cash and also give someone equity, because if we exit in 5 years, the IRRs are actually really strong. But it's getting someone on board for the new trajectory of an income generating portfolio.
Well, you're no longer building it, are you?
No more building at the moment. Yeah, we're not building anymore. So we're just stuck. We're just sticking with the same assets that we've got. It's a really shit market for people that have done this in the duration that we've done it. We've kind of entered at the worst point, and one of the main reasons is not only the mini budget and yields moving, which has happened to also the commercial markets, office markets, retail markets, but it's also because Home REIT, who are the largest UK real estate investment trust, who own the largest portfolio of social housing stock in the UK, went under about 2.5 years ago. So all the investment markets lost confidence, and also there's all of a sudden loads of stock in the market that's 60p in a pound that you can pick up. So why would you buy our beautiful finished award-winning stock that's a good value, when you could go and buy the bits and bobs that's been administrated back into the market from them? So duration is the key
Or
there.
just leave your money in the bank. That's the problem with high interest rates. But this is on a global scale of a problem.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to put the money in the bank and get paid 5.5% than take a commercial portfolio on and have all the risk and all the headache for an extra 1%. So if the rates are coming down, 0.25% drop will help by 0.5% on the yield. So it's not it's not related. So that's why we just held our Farnham stock. We'll just do it 12 months. Just do it as an exit bridge. Wait for the markets to drop 1 or 2 more quarters and then take out on a longer fix or sell it based on.
Yeah, I actually sent a deal to an investor, which we've now actually sold, which is good. But and he said he gets 7.5% annualized, but it's compounded every month in a bank that he banks with in India. So picture that. So 7.5% divided by 12 to a monthly rate and then compounded every month. I haven't actually worked out the maths what that would be, but I'm guessing it'll be early teens, maybe even slightly higher. And he said that's literally it's just like a normal bank in India, and all you have to have is some form of family heritage there from up generations, and that's it. It's like crazy returns.
But yeah, it's good you've got an outcome now, though, mate, and you've got a strategy. Hold.
Yeah,
out 5 years.
I sent Dorian the figures the other day. Like, it is actually quite an attractive proposition for someone that wants just a dry return. It's not really for like the developer-y mezz in and out within a couple of years. It's someone that just wants to sort of let them forget and have upside at the tail end. And it's done. It's fully managed. There's not a lot of headache. And the return on cash is proposed on exit pretty high. So
nice. And D, how art life good?
Good, yeah, and I've seen the figures from Jack as well, and I'm gonna speak to a couple of the funds that because as you all know, I've been on fundraising for the past year with an S. Because it's also been quite a tough market for funding. And I was at an event yesterday, and it was a funding panel, and the rhetoric was the same. It had some people on there that that have raised money. They've had a fund on there, had a bank on there, had a broker on there, and basically the consensus was it's very tough to raise funding. I'm like, well, yeah, I've known that for the past few years. So I think, for me, just for a quick update, it's been very busy. We're starting to get some of those sites over the line that were causing us issues a few months ago, which is good. Had a completion last week. 1.572 million came in, 1.572 million went straight out. So that was decent. We should hopefully be having a completion today, and it changes last minute. That's just the hard thing about development, and it's so hard to budget for. But this completion, we bought a site for 425,000. We're just selling it now for 750,000, and it is. If it completes today, then it would have been done within 12 months, which is a decent time frame for us. Normally, it's double that. So, fingers crossed. And then on the back of that, we're getting a 10.5 million pound build contract as well. That obviously we're gonna self deliver the groundworks on it, and also hopefully at that time the M&E. To help bring up the margin too. So, but it hits our minimum margin requirement, so that's good. But most importantly, as that we'll get back about £1 million day one. So I can send that back to where it needs to go, and then we should have had a completion last Friday, no, 2 weeks ago Friday, but that got shifted last minute, literally into April. So that's just how the cookie crumbles. That one, hopefully, it does complete in April. And then I'm also fundraising as well, because I got a deal that we exchanged on. It's a £13 million development, and it's one of those where it's actually a consented site, which we don't do many of them. And this is one of the reasons why we don't do many of them. We just do not have the control or the time that we usually have. And the problem is, when you're working with housing associations or local authorities, their time frame, their decision making is really not aligned to private developers' timescale at all. It's completely different. So they, we exchanged, put down a 10% deposit, which we really, really do, but because it's consented, etc., we didn't really have any negotiation. And the only thing we needed to do is get the housing association lined up. And of course, lo and behold, they're nowhere near ready, to be honest with you, for completion. And the vendors confirmed they won't be extending our long stop position, and so we could be we're probably expecting to get served the notice, the demand, next week, which will give us 10 days So I've got to raise 1.25 million plus a follow-on 500,000 because we're now, again, this didn't happen when we exchanged. When we put the deposit down. We've now been told that we have to do the enabling works to the housing association before they buy it off us, just because they're not happy with the level of risk. So anyway, 1.75 million in the space of 3 weeks. So let's get down to business. And I say, but other than that, I've a bit of team. I brought in a new ops director, brackets consultant, so he's self-employed, to come and do a kind of, audit of our operations through technical, commercial, construction, groundworks, M&E, and everything really, and just to come up with a plan of like, where are we going wrong, how can we be better. If I brought him in as an ops director full time, what would he do, etc. It gives it a bit of a test as well to see what it's like culture wise with the team, because obviously it's already a dynamic shift. But that'd be cool because it can take away my focus on. I'm heavily focused on ops, but we're a 30+ million turnover company now and growing. So I need to make sure I have somebody on that even though I have the heads of divisions, it feels like we are definitely missing that someone to stitch together. So that's a bit of the business update. Other than that, I'm in London at the moment. I came here yesterday to attend the business leader summit, which is cool. And it's funny, as you was talking about swingers, I was reading the list of billionaires on the list. So I was, I think you can only get that dynamic on this podcast. And I literally took about 6 pages of notes where I got to listen to talks from Tom Behan, the co-founder of Castor. I got to listen to the co-founder of Deliveroo, some sports. So I have to build a guy called Ben Ryan, who is I think it's Brentford Football Club. Is it Brentwood? One of them. And that was more importantly, is just the leadership talking was really interesting. Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, Simon Aurora, the behind B&M Bargains, and just lots of others. Richard Harpin, obviously the founder of HomeServe. And it was, like I said, I got loads of notes here. I'm going to type them all out, but I'm happy to shout a few out when the time's right on this podcast. And then I'm going on a bit now, but I'm just, for those listening, the power of Instagram and social media. What I was saying to the guys earlier, I don't know whether this was on record, so I'm going to repeat it. If it is, apologies. When I'm going to like London or any event, I like to double up and make sure I'm making use of the time. Because obviously for me, from being from Wales, there's a cost and time implication of coming here. So I put an Instagram story out saying I'm going to be in London. I've got a free evening. Who wants to meet up for dinner? And I had 3 business owners, entrepreneurs, property people reach out on Instagram. We booked a table. They don't know each other, and they all know me through my social media. And we had a lovely steak dinner, and it was funny. We really got it was great. And we played a game. I pulled the game out at the end. I've got it on the GoPro, so I see hopefully the footage is okay because it was loud in there. And the game was either or game. I don't know if you guys play it. I play it with my kids, so I brought it out at the dinner table.
Do you mean would you rather?
It's the Welsh version, right? The Welsh version, mate.
Usually it's something brutal. You're like, would you rather, suck cock and do this, or would you rather take it up?
Yeah. Do you ask your kids that? Yeah. Yeah, Ryan, do you want to borrow my purple shirt? My purple.
Yeah. Your shirt.
I can tell you what.
These will work. Oh, I can, mate. Oh, I'll be sending. Oh, I can. 100%.
You got to send us a photo of that. I want to see you by the pool in those shorts.
Yeah, as long as it don't look too weird. I thought it'd be funny for the kids, but to be honest, I mean, I don't care about looking a fool.
It'd be so funny for the kids.
To be fair, I think it's probably like acceptable and slightly okay if you were walking around in duck shorts, but because you bought a mate one, who I'm guessing is another bloke, that then it starts to get a bit weird.
I know. Well, if it looks too weird, then we won't. But I think it'll be all right. You still as a kid.
Stuart, own it. Go on Amazon now and buy a vest as well. And
I've got the towel, I've got the t-shirt, I've got the cost me. Yeah, the sunglasses.
Just to finish up there, so we played the either or game. It come out now, but we started off lightly with HMOs or buy to lets or service accommodations or HMOs, and we're just going round. And then of course, and so it started going into other topics then as well, which was funny. So that's a good after dinner game. I'd recommend it. And finally, which I think I can say it now because this is not going out till next week, I'm in London again this morning. I'm in a final for an award, and fingers crossed that I win or I'm in the top 3, because it's the Stelios UK Young Entrepreneurs Award competition. So Stelios is the founder of EasyJet, and through his philanthropic charity, it's a charitable organization. They run these competitions in the UK, in Athens, in Monaco, and in Cyprus. Sorry, where is Cyprus too? Cyprus is no, Athens is Greece, and Cyprus. Sorry, that's it. And it's basically for young entrepreneurs. I'm fortunate enough to be in the final, and if I'm in the top 3, there's a cash prize. So we will see. Hopefully,
Is it 1.7 million pounds that will fill a hole for a short time?
First place is 150,000, second place is 100,000, and third place is 50,000.
That's solid, Dad.
So I'm going to the
Excellent.
I'm going to the HQ now this morning, and we'll see where I place.
Fingers
Best
crossed,
of luck, mate.
Good luck, mate.
Good luck, sir. Yeah, nice, good, nice little rounds there. Quick update from me as well. We are just scaling on all fronts at the moment. I feel like we're bursting at the seams, needing to hire left, right, and centre. We've got job ads out for almost every business that we're running, and growing a second construction company that is off the ground running.
Sorry, Roy, I was just saying, you mentioned it last week, but we didn't actually delve into it. But once you finish your update, it'd be interesting to understand what do you mean by second construction company and all that, and why are you doing it, etc.
Yeah, so we've got the HMOs and the commercial to resis, and we've just sold 2 more commercial to resis as well, to a great client. Like, sometimes you just get these clients that come through and you're just like, you're amazing. Like, you're just amazing. Just instant trust, instant kind of verification of, look, I trust you guys implicitly. Let's go. Fund this stuff cash. I appreciate property. I've done it before. I know there can be mistakes and hurdles and things like that, but I like the numbers. I like what you're doing. I've checked everything myself. Let's crack on. And it's just like, just amazing clients, and taking on 2 big sites. So our construction business at present is just, we're on 21 sites at the moment, 21, and we're trying to get that down to, otherwise we're going to have to hire way more site managers, which we have to do anyway. 3 new site managers need to come on board. So that business is just bursting at the seams. It's a lot of sites. And we've just brought another girl, Kirsty, on. We're bringing on an architect as well. There's just a lot going on in that business already, and now we're doing the buy-to-lets, which to me is a great diversification of our product, if you like. So I always look at it in products, like you've got these different products on the shelves at different price points, which cater to different kind of clientele, and we want to cater for a mass market sort of product that we can get to scale, and obviously that's great cash flow for us. And services the rest of the businesses still. It just stabilizes the market inside of the business where we have quite high OPEX. So we want to scale that, but I don't want to blur that in with the existing construction business that has, a whole different set of preliminary costs and overheads and processes and building control and planning and all this other stuff. Whereas buy-to-lets, we don't need none of that. All that kind of goes out the window. Much more that's like stupefied. So just setting up a completely new refurbishment construction business with all new trade accounts, all new insurance, all new teams and staff, and they're just going to focus on buy-to-lets and domestic like maintenance jobs and things like that, just to keep the 2 vehicles completely separate and isolated. So that's the process at the moment. I think it makes a lot of sense to do it, even though it may seem a bit counterintuitive to some people listening. But when you have those different kind of processes and management levels required on like such a range of things at scale, to me, it just makes sense to split them. So that's what we're doing. But yeah, other than that, all good in the hood. Just feels like every day there's a lot going on. There's just a lot of new activity, a lot of new things. And me and Dad are just like, we're on and off for the phones to like new clients and new investors and new projects selling, getting over the line. And then we're just trying to consolidate and bring in new staff where we need to. So great start to the year. We're hitting records every month. Every month is just like another new record. We're about to massively up the ad spend again. So yeah, all good. And I'll update once we've sort of stabilize that new construction business and see what it looks like. Because I know what staff we need, but it's when. So I've built not a business plan, but a resource plan with KPIs and revenue targets, and that's showing like a cash flow forecast based on our payment terms, and then what sort of staffing levels we'll need based on sales deliveries and what we're on site with. And that's forecasted for 24 months. So I'm using that as my sort of sense check for what kind of staff we'll need at what points. But you just never know, do you, until you're in the thick of it, exactly who's needed next. So yeah, that's me. all good in the hood. But Rachel Reeves has just done an update, which I think will be interesting for all of us to cover. So going to the docket. Actually, what you should do, if you're a new viewer, make sure you subscribe, which I've already said. Make sure you share this, but also check out the old pods, like give them a watch. It's good for our retention and our overall viewership, helps the podcast grow organically. So make sure you give the other ones a listen. Anyway, shout out to Robbie as well. Robbie Hine, I want to say, who's going through and doing exactly that. He started on the ski trip at episode 1, and he's messages me like every other couple of days, and he's like, "Oh, I love this one." It's on like episode 6 and then episode 11. It's class. Right, Rachel Reeves. So she has just done her spring statement, and there's quite a lot of stuff in there. Just as a bit of a caveat, there's to do with cuts to the civil service, to do with cuts to benefits and all that kind of stuff. So you can go check that stuff out. I was going to bring that up, but I was like, do you know what? Let's focus on the interesting one to us, because Labour obviously have this plan to build 1.5 million homes for the next 5 years, which I'm sure they'll achieve. But what they really need, and what we all know this industry needs, is more skilled labourers and trade people, because we have a serious problem. So Rachel Reeves bets the house on 60,000 new bricklayers to help jumpstart the economy. Now, it's not just bricklayers. There's a range of trades in there. So let's just look at it in detail. So Rachel Reeves hopes to kickstart the economy and save Labour's plan to build 1.5 million new homes by training up to 60,000 bricklayers, electricians, engineers, and carpenters over the next 4 years. The £600 million move is designed to help fill 35,000 job vacancies in construction, after warnings revealed by The Independent that the government's flagship scheme is unachievable due to a shortage of workers. So that's the premise of it. So they want to bring in 60,000, well, they've identified 60,000 new trades required. I would argue that it's probably higher than that. We probably need a lot more. Yeah, add a zero. And so already just poor statistics. These are just political headlines. But also, think about it. They need to train up 60,000 people, okay, to hit 1.5 million homes in the next 5 years. How quick do they think this is going to happen? And to do that really quickly, they're going to have to pull the existing labour force in to train up the staff. So they're going to create these bottlenecks.
She's lost. They've all lost the plot. It's just all lies, and it's just to try and tamper the fire down for another 6 months. I mean, she's 6 months behind where the Tories would have been anyway. And she's like, when the reform comes out, and it's like there's no deadline. There's no long stop on any of this. It's just a load of lies, to be honest. There's no way they're going to have these people can be trained up. Yeah, 600,000 would be better, and if they're trained in 4 weeks, then we got a chance. But if that ain't going to happen, none of it's.
We lost. So obviously, like the Brexit was one of the big issues of losing EU workforce that was in the UK, and construction is actually the highest percentile of people that come over to work in our country, other than Turkish barbers. No joke, that's not actually genuine. In 2020 to 2022, we lost 330,000 workers, and you could almost assume most of those were in construction. So for us to get 60,000 employed, that's not really even touching the size of what we've already lost, let alone catching up from what we've not been delivering each year.
Well, can I caveat with two things as well? So we, I'm sure you guys do as well. A lot of Eastern Europeans who work as tradies and things like that. And I'm hearing from a lot of them that they've all got plans to go back to Poland, because it's boomtown at the moment, and back to Eastern Europe, where there's a lot of building going on. And apparently that's been happening in droves. So quite a lot of the Eastern Europeans have been going. And I know for a fact that the northern lads, a lot of the northern workers, are the tradies of the UK that go down south and build a lot of stuff down south, and they're now staying up here because there's a lot of work happening here, like crazy government things and institutional capital coming in big sites, particularly with M&E, with these data centers and things like that they're building. So there's like the south, I think, is going to suffer the most of a labor shortage, because tradies don't want to live there because it's so expensive. And if there's boomtown in their hometowns, they can get good rates and have the cheaper living costs. And then the Eastern Europeans going back to their hometown because there's boomtown happening in particularly Poland. So I think we're going to have a serious issue in the construction sector. And just one more thing that fucks me off. We've just lost one of our site managers to an NHS contract where he's effectively getting £120 more a day. We obviously can't compete with that. And that's happening so much. Why can government-backed funds come in, overprice all the work using taxpayer funds, and screw over all the local businesses that have built up these labour pools. And like, it's so wrong. Like they should have to tender on like a fair trade price. I don't understand why they can just whack it up to infinitum just to suck the labour pool out of local businesses. But that's just a rant.
Very
Sorry.
good point. And the amount of young kids that are actually not coming through. We were talking about this at lunch yesterday. Like the amount of females into construction is obviously at zero. It's less than 1%. And the young people, we live in a digital economy. A lot of people want to go to work, and a lot of people don't want to go and lug plasterboard from A to B and do these trades that we need to be, that we need to happen. So, yeah, who knows? It's not getting any easier.
Yeah. I think that kind of stems back to, it's not just education and it's not just the enthusiasm of young people, but I think social media has got so in the way of the family nucleus that even if you're from a tradie family where you used to be like for activity, you'd go work with dad. Dad will take you on site, you do bits and bobs as you're growing up. But now the kids got all these consumption devices. There's such a disparity between, what their parents do for work and what the kid does to entertain themselves now, that they're not getting that young kind of tactile. I was around builders all the time when I was growing up, which I'm sure like we would have been of our age group, particularly used to. Sorry, sorry. That you would have been around the parents that would have done their trade, because you didn't have fucking Netflix and a social media and the iPhone consuming all your bandwidth. So it's a huge problem. Yeah.
Question for Dorian, because he's got kids that are sort of that age. Do you send your kids to site and get them to do a bit of labour and move and bits around? Because I mean that was such a prevalent part of my upbringing.
Well, so my dad did that with us, and obviously it does. Clearly, if you just connect the dots, looking back, very fortunate. I was exposed to property at a young age. I was exposed to refurbishments and all that sort of stuff, and it gets ingrained in you, and you develop. Oh, I developed a serious passion, obviously, for it. Even back then, my parents got in trouble with some health and safety laws for having us on site. My dad was one of those types of guys who doesn't believe in PPE. But in today's world, if I took my 6-year-old on site, because of the scale, if that word got out, I would have clients coming down on me threatening to never work with us again. I'd have it just, it's just we have, and because we used to be quite contentious sites. Some of the neighbours genuinely do just, or when something starts happening, they're out there with the video recorder and they send it to the client, and you're like,
you're an exception though, right? Because like most tradies or builders, they've not got 60 staff and building like £100 million business. They're like they might be going to do domestic jobs and things like that. They might bring their kids, like, not saying they're 6, they might be like 11, and they're helping dad with lugging some stuff in. Do you know what I mean?
I think really though. And this is a difficult one for me, because I believe that if you're in a position where you can expose your children to that type of environment, do it. But equally, I also think that you shouldn't force it on them, because it can also just repel them and go. It can make them go against it. I think the way I'm going to do it with my kids is, like, they're going to be their own human beings in the end, right? And as long as all I really want them to be is polite, kind, and be able to stick up for themselves, and just be that type of person that is humble, but can like handle themselves and walks around with a bit of street awareness. In terms of what they do, I just want to leave that to them, but I'm going to expose them to business. I'm going to expose them to property. But if my son just turns around and says, "Look, Dad, I want to go travel and with an acoustic guitar and go and play," I'm like, "Mate, I can go for it. Here's a cup, go and get some money."
I completely agree with what you're saying, that you should never force kids to go down a certain career path. But I do think I think there should be more of a kind of societal duty on parents to teach kids how to do useful things with their hands. Like if you can make money with your hands, you can always survive. Do you know what I mean? But there's such a cohort of kids now who they'd sooner go on benefits than think about using their hands or getting dirty or working in the cold, because they've just been brought up that way.
I was just going to say, obviously, there she is on site.
This is 2 Saturdays quickly, Jack. This is my daughter after football training telling me, "Why is the digger not moving?" I said, "It's a Saturday, darling." She said, "Well, why is it not working now?" I was like, "That's what I like to see." And she was more interested in playing with the plasterers' buckets. Then she wants to be a plasterer. She can be a plasterer, all right? Just expose. And And I was saying yesterday, women in construction, like if I put a female into our group now, I don't think there'd be any issues at all. Like I know when you were younger and you had females on bigger sites, you would have had a bit more of an issue. I think it was daunting for a 16-year-old lad to go as an agent to go onto a big building site and deal with a load of big burly men and a load of banter and stuff you don't really understand. And it's all that, go and find me some fucking skyhooks and some tartan paint and all the rest of it. But I think that the world's changed so much now by putting young females onto construction sites. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but the big thing last night we were talking about was where the toilets would be. You should have a female toilet on a building site, even if you haven't got females on a site in case you've got visitors. I was like, you just can't afford the real estate. If you've got a postage sized building site, you can't have 2 toilets just for when the one female turns up, every other month. It's difficult, but sorry, that was my bit.
But we can't let all the blokes that are builders share the ladies because they leave it in a terrible state.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
It's true.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say on the whole kid topics because I think it's interesting. Is like I was obviously brought up in an environment where it was like, there wasn't as much health and safety, actually none at all, and I just got thrown in the deep end as a bloke, really. And I think one thing that the modern world is missing is sometimes you have to do things that you don't like, and that alone, like getting in there and grafting, whether you like it or not, will hold you in good stead. Like I say to my wife all the time, like she'll be like, I don't want to do that, and I'll be like, well, it's not easy. You can't always do things that you want to do, otherwise you won't end up getting to places where you obviously, there's never an environment where you're always going, I'll just do that, it's easier, or I'll just do that because I like doing that. There's got to be tension, and I feel that's a really good sort of mindset to build, because I love it. I like thriving, like, oh, this is shit. Let's get on in it.
And I tried to do just my phone cut out there. Sorry, but I'm just saying I put a picture of me and my son on site in the group chat. I can't just show you because I'm on my phone, so I couldn't show you. But so I've been doing it since day one, and because I do agree with you all, it's so important to try to get them involved in teach them the lessons as they go in, and I keep drilling it into my. And
You want to put this up?
Yeah.
For the viewers, just staying there.
And that's the thing, and I'm teaching them as well because I play a bit of guitar and piano, and I say the same to him. I say the same to him, like if you can play the guitar, like an acoustic guitar properly, you make money wherever. So in addition, but I agree with the building as well. Being practical is useful. But to be honest with you, I couldn't put together a desk. All I could do if I was on site is I would be the labourer lugging things around.
Well, that's a cute photo, man. I love that photo.
Very cute. He's a cutie. How old's he?
Oh, he's 6 now, so that would have been 2 years ago, I think. That one.
Oh wow.
So I take him around most sites, especially when we get towards the end, and like when we drive past and stuff, they'll say, "Oh, And it's funny because my 4-year-old now, about a year ago, he was really interested in what I was doing, and he kept saying, "Daddy builds houses, and stuff like that." And then when they did like an end of year school interview for him, they asked him on camera, "What does your dad do?" And he said, "I don't know."
Yeah, I don't know.
When we go in the car with Emily, every time we go past scaffolding, she's like, "Oh, that's Daddy's building site." I know, guys, it's not my one. It's Daddy's building. That's not my one. Though. Every time she sees scaffolding, she relates it to it. It's one of our building sites.
But
they're his critic as well, right? They're the ones I want to impress the most. Is my little daughter.
Class, mate, class. So yeah, just going then back to Rachel Reeves. So I just want to caveat that at least they're talking about the issue because it is a big issue. But the way they're going to tackle it, it's just not going to work. What they're planning to do, but at least they're talking about the issue because this should have been spoken about as a huge topic of conversation for years. That we need the labor force. We can't have all these kids idolizing influencers and wanting to be social media stars because it's just not tenable. We need more kids wanting to pick up tools and do trades. So hopefully this inspires some a new wave of people. But it's certainly not going to happen in the matter of a few years. But anyway, watch this space. Let's see. But
my bet will be autumn statement. She still says when this reform comes in, and there will be no change between now and the autumn statement. It'll be the same story, just kick down the road another 6 months.
And just blame the Tories for the black hole they left them.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's always their fault. You've been in for 2 years, love.
Yeah. Let's move on to another.
I was just going to quickly say, I'm pretty sure Tony Pidgley has been banging on about this for like 30 years. Obviously, R.I.P. rest his soul. So the founder of the Berkeley Group, which is, in my opinion, probably the best quality development business that's at scale. And he actually launched that there is a Berkeley Group's apprenticeship program that he launched to specifically bring trades up through the ranks, because he was like, the biggest problem with our country is, he obviously didn't have necessarily massive issues with planning and funding, because he partnered up with Thames Water and National Rail and grew it from the ground up and boomed his business through the baby boomer generations. But his problem was workforce, and not workforce at the high level, not skilled people, not qualified people that can come in like Ben and be a technical delivery manager. It was the people on the ground that are actually doing the actual work. So I think it's, we do have. And coincidentally, I worked when I managed the site in central London. We had two Polish workers there, and both of them in college. So I'm talking from the age of 16 to 18 years old. Both became qualified plumbers, electricians, and site hands as part of their education. So that's not doing a course in construction. That is as part of them graduating through college. Obviously, they learned about, I don't know what their other major subject was. It might have been like music, art, something else. But they actually came out qualified electricians and plumbers, which, if you actually think about it, is crazy. Imagine if your local college had a psychology class, and while they're 1 hour a week, they work out how to, refuse a house, or rewire a socket, because it's, whatever it may be. But imagine how that practically would then improve the general society around you. And those kids would teach people. Those kids will grow up, be a parent, and teach their kids. So yeah, got something wrong.
It's needed. We need people knowing how to do shit with their hands. But here's the next one, and this is, let's see what we think of this. So, facial recognition cameras in Croydon should alarm all Londoners. And I don't think I put in the article here because it's pretty self-explanatory. So what they're doing is, to catch more criminals, they are putting in these facial recognition cameras, which is technology that's been around in China for the last decade. And they have cameras just everywhere that monitor and track people. They've obviously created a social credit system off the back of that. If you're caught doing things, then they remove societal privileges, things like access to bank accounts, purchasing power, all that kind of stuff. So all interwebs into a very socialist state that controls people with all the data that they're capturing, and obviously removes that level of sovereignty and privacy from citizens. And it is amazing that we even think this is tenable in the UK. So just before we dive into it, I don't know if you guys remember, but when all of the cameras started to get plastered up in London, there was a revolt from people who just started burning all the cameras. And that was maybe 5 years ago or something. And I think they're just going to burn all of these facial recognition cameras. I can't see local people standing for this, but at the same time, if they just keep pushing it, eventually people do become a bit more docile, and maybe they'll get away with it. But it's something they're test piloting in Croydon to then roll out across London, which to me is abdicating the responsibility of dealing with preventing crime, and instead just going, well, if you do crime, we'll catch you anyway. So what do we think about that, guys? How do you feel about that, raising kids in a state where we're now going to introduce facial recognition cameras on the streets?
Well, it's not solving the root cause, is it? I mean, that's exactly what you're saying. Is that you can catch it on camera, someone stabbing someone else. I mean, adolescents. Did you watch it, Jack, from last week? Or have you?
Stu, I don't know how much spare time you think I've got.
Mate, I saw your diary yesterday. There's definitely a few little slots in that very round diary. You shared your diary at calendar last night. I was like, multicolored. It's like a rainbow. It's not going to solve the root problem, and I don't really want to live in a city that's capturing everyone doing everything at all times. I mean, I'd much rather move to the country, which I think is probably likely to happen. It's just becoming more of a surveillance state, aren't we? It's unless we, I don't know how we would change it now. To be honest, it's civil unrest. Probably it will just become part of the new structure that will be coming very soon. I think that's my honest opinion. I think we've got 12 months left between now and 2028. We're going to have an uprising in a lot of anger. I think the south, it comes down to the rich poor divide is getting bigger and bigger, and we are going to get to breaking point, and it will all be reset, which is what I think is going to happen. Without trying to be too doom and gloom.
There's definitely a rich poor divide. There's a class divide, which is the big issue, but it's not. It's knowing what the issue is, because the issue.
This is the rich's solution to the poor problem.
I think it's
just another band-aid on top of another band-aid.
I think it's like mid-level legislation, like the people in the middle.
bureaucratic. Yeah, I think it's definitely it's a government.
Because the rich people just put CCTV up around their house.
Yeah, but that's not
Right,
good
or
enough
move,
now. They want it
or
around their
move.
streets.
Yeah, but or move. So the rich people move to the Cotswolds, exactly like you just said, and it's the middle people that go, let's put cameras up so that stabbers don't come near my house because I can't move or afford cameras around my estate, or when I'm down the shop, my cameras can't see what I'm up to. I mean, interestingly, the like the mindset of like that divide is an easy way to picture it is the best place to get a beer in Henley on Thames is the Wetherspoons. Like it's the best Guinness that they have in there, and I rate that. But the reason that I go to somewhere else is because I don't want to be around the people that are in the Wetherspoons, if that makes sense. So it's
Said by a very Henley person.
well, I mean, it's the cheapest. It's £2 a pint, and everywhere else is £7 a pint. So the difference is the clientele, the ambiance, and the how clean the toilet is. So the principle is like we're talking about different tiers, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think it's to think of it as a rich poor issue is playing too much into the media's hands and the whole agenda that we need to be aiming at each other. But this is a government thing, and that's proven by one of the other articles, which is that the UK government is trying to create backdoors into our encrypted messaging systems like WhatsApp, so that they can, in the event that they need to catch terrorists, they can access all of our WhatsApp communications. And I just think, all of these things are steps towards a very socialist state. And obviously, we've got a Labour government that are extremely socialist, so we should expect these measures to come in. But at what point do we go, hang on, we don't want facial recognition cameras on our streets? Cameras, I understand, protect commercial commerce and things like that. If something happens, that's fine. But to have facial recognition cameras tracking where individuals are at any given time and all that stuff, yeah, it might catch some more criminals, but what about the rest of us? How should we respond to that? And then accessing our encrypted messaging systems and all this shit. It's like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? We're a free society. So I think it's all a bit fucking nuts. D, what do you think?
You're only free if you're law abiding to their laws. And I've got a slightly different stance on all of this, and maybe it is just a I can't remember the word, submissive stance, but I think this is happening anyway. I think sooner or later, regardless, that most countries across the world, especially developed countries, I would go as far as says all developed countries will go down this route sooner or later, and it is just absolutely inevitable. So with the technology rising the way it is, and the power the government have and the infrastructure they have, every year that goes by with this advanced technology, even the co-founder of Deliveroo put like a disclaimer, like lots of sim/warning, obviously, yeah, forefront of technology developments, and it's saying that what they're expecting to see over the next 6 to 12 months is going to be absolutely game changing again, where they're actually going to, in terms of Deliveroo, completely elevate their entire workforce productivity with the technology that this scene's being developed right now, that they're currently in beta mode on. So it is just inevitable. So it comes back down to Stuart and Jack's point, really, is that all I'm focused on, right, is that kind of we're on the board game. The rules are set. Yes, you can protest. Yes, you can do all this and push against it. And obviously, there's your right to do so. But ultimately, for me, I look at the energy spend, and we're on the board table, and the games and the rules, and sometimes they're changing as we're going. And if I don't like it, the purpose for me, like you saw, really, is to unfortunately build wealth where it gives me the ability to choose when something goes too far, that if I don't like it, the only way I'm going to be able to move on is like, if I want to buy a $5 million gold card and go to a lovely mid-rural state somewhere that there's nothing happening, then you can choose to do so, but you need money, obviously. So
if that was, let's play that out though. If that was the case, yeah, that we can't change it, we can protest, we can do things like that, but it sounds kind of defeatist, yeah, then wouldn't then Trump, Elon, and all these billionaires in America are going in to attack the government effectively. They're going in. It's almost like a coup. It's not quite.
But playing devil's advocate on that, anybody that uses a Tesla product or thing, probably, and I'm going to say something that may not be true here, so don't sue me, Elon, is they're tracking where your vehicle is at all times anyway, and all the information in it, and they probably have. There's probably going to be some scandal in a few years where they're probably recording inside or can record inside if they want to.
That's slightly different though. If I'm opting to buy a product, like the same way that if I buy an Xbox and I play on a game, that they're tracking my data, but I can choose to not buy the Xbox and not be tracked. But when the government does something, that's using public funds, public resources against my citizenship, and to use that in public streets and public highways. I don't know. I just think it's a different thing. You have a commercial agreement when you buy into a product, but when you have a state that's meant to represent democracy.
No, I agree with you, and I this is just my own personal opinion. I just actually don't really have too much of a strong opinion on this particular topic. I.e., I don't really mind or care, to be honest with you. That's where it comes from. Just because my focus is so on elsewhere, and I know I've got no intention of breaking. I just don't care. So I know that's bad to say, but I'm just being honest. So because of that, mate, it's one of those. It's the things I care about, though. I'm very vocal, but on this one, I'm like, meh, whatever.
It's like at the I'd agree with you at the moment. I'm like, facial recognition cameras in Croydon, fine. Like that doesn't massively bother me. Is it going to be the end of society? No. But where does that extrapolation stop? Where are we happy to draw a line? What if the next thing is we're going to have live satellite feeds of everyone's houses and track everyone's? Are we going to go?
There will be a civil war in the future on this. I guarantee it. So there's going to the technology is going to advance. The governments in all developed countries are really going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to the point where, like right now, this I don't really care about. But in the future, there might be something that really does cross the line. Like, we turn into that movie where everyone has time as currency, and that's set by the government or something stupid. It's just
in time.
Yeah, 100% think there's going to be civil unrest. I think that it's where does it stop? Because you go to surveilling everyone and all their movements. It then becomes down to it's the money system. As soon as they can control your money and they can control everything about your life, it's just total power, which is what I can't stand, to be honest. I think it's just unfair that and they're just trying to push it. Go, well, they don't care about this, and then we'll keep going. 10 years will pass, then we'll push it again, and we'll push it again, and they get what they want ultimately over a longer period of time. But I think as soon as they can control our movements, they can control our money, and then we have just little or no input in our own lives anymore. It's just modern day slavery, and there will be civil unrest, 100%.
I mean, but their trouble is obviously, like talking about moving away. So we've got a lot of property in Croydon, and Croydon is pretty bad. To the extent that there's rough areas in any place that you go to. There's a rough area in Reading, and I feel comfortable walking through that particular area. When I walk through Croydon High Street, I don't feel comfortable, and that's you can't avoid that. That's not in a down end road that you don't know. That's down the high street. So they're obviously trying to address a particular problem, which might be drug use, theft, crime. I mean, they're all sort of semi-correlated in most instances. But the problem at the moment is no one wants to move there. So the stereotype of the people remain the same. Whereas if the stereotype of people can't perform their stereotypical acts in certain areas of public, then they will do it in other locations, which is dispersing the sort of problems into different boroughs and locations so that the people can live freely and happily in the areas that they need to. So to some degree, I do kind of, if you're walking down a high street, what is an issue of you being on camera? I wouldn't mind that, because if someone nicks your bag, or it's only a problem if you're going to be doing something wrong.
It's the plaster over the problem. The solution is community on the ground, community centres trying to work out.
I don't disagree with that. But I'm also saying, like, if you are a law-abiding citizen, why should you have a problem with cameras being in high streets? I think you should have private space.
I think it's because of what it can lead to.
What will happen is they will get some data which shows that it works. And then because it shows that it works or reduces crime or increases the probability of capturing somebody who does crime, that will be the catalyst for it to be rolled out into other areas. Because the argument is that the benefit outweighs the cost. I agree with what you're saying as well, Stu, but that they're just not doing it. They've had the option to do that for decades, and they're not really doing it enough. And it's just typical government again. And then because they can get some stats and some numbers, it's used as a political tool for campaigning to be like, we've done this to reduce crime, to blah blah, and then it comes back to Jack's kind of middle tier, working class, they will more than likely like that, appreciate that, and actually vote for that, because for them, they're stuck, they're rooted, and anything that can make their constituency safer, in theory,
Let's
they're gonna
just
be for.
let's just play this out though in different ways here, because I completely agree with you, Jack. I have no issue with being on camera in principle, but if you look at what happens to socialist societies when you give the government too much data and you admit your privacy, let's play it out. We're already seeing social media censorship on people speaking out against government policy. We're already seeing it. People getting arrested for Facebook crimes because they're talking out against immigration and all these other things. We're seeing oppression of emerging political parties and political speakers against the status quo of a sitting government, which is already a very socialist state. You couple that with facial recognition, where you can track people. Let's say now there are protests on the streets, and then you've got these cameras that can look at all these faces, connect that to their social media accounts, suppress that cohort of people. Like, it gives them too much power to silence what could be a majority movement. Like, the more we emit privacy, the more power we give government to influence us and everything we can do. And if you look at what Khan's done in London, defunding the police, stopping stop and search, all these other things have led to an increase in crime. So they need to fix that problem first before like kind of patching it over with a new solution that's not even been proven. We need police to have the powers to do what they need to do, stop and search without being called a racist and all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Like Dorian just said, right? It's if you put a band-aid on top of this problem, and then all of a sudden you then give the government tools to use this in the future. So we go out 5 years from now and we go, okay, well, all the knife crime happens between 11 and 1. So now we've got the tools and the and the facial recognition to basically ban anyone going out between 11 and 6 in the morning. So over 10 years, very small changes make these huge impacts, and all of a sudden your liberty and your freedom's taken away because of these small movements. And it comes down to, they've been doing it for years, right? It's just how it all works, is that all of a sudden they go, a knife crime happens it's anywhere inside the M25 or whatever in these pockets, and we're going to ban people going out from 11 o'clock. And this is where I don't agree with where it's going, because who should tell me I have the fucking right to leave my 4 walls or not at whatever time I want to? And then you're living in an open prison, basically.
Imagine the next COVID lockdown.
Next band-aid.
Imagine the next COVID lockdown. Like,
I agree with you. It's like where it's going is definitely the problem. And this is going to be me now putting which I've already done, but a definitive opinion or prediction on it. This and everything we're talking about is going to happen. They are going to do it, and the government, they will enforce even more technology, and they will be doing more tracking, and they will be probably doing stuff you're saying there, Stuart. So in my brain, that's what happens. I go, right, probably logically and on the balance of probability, this is going to happen. So therefore, I can't change that. I can argue and stuff like that, but I still just believe that's going to happen across most developed countries. So what can I do about it now? So when we get there, I've got a choice where, unfortunately, others may not, because they're not really taking action on it, because they're just going to live in that bubble, in that sphere. Whereas I want to be one of those that are an outlier. I want to be the outlier. I want to be out there with freedom, and that just comes back down to knuckling down now and scaling the business and building wealth for myself and for stakeholders, and just absolutely nailing it. So then I got freedom of choice.
For me, it comes down to mixed community, mixed income. It's all about the community. You've just got to fix the root cause, and no one wants to actually get down into the weeds and sort the core issue out, which is difficult to do because it's getting bigger and bigger. But if you deal with smaller communities, have old people living with young people, have some level of respect, and go back a little bit and get everyone.
How do you enforce that? You go around an old person's house, be like, right, Barbara, you're moving now 3 streets down the road because this.
No, new developments that are made should be designed to be mixed communities, rather than trying to categorise old people in residential homes and young people in starter homes and student blocks. You need to create societies and new towns that has this mix and this blend, and that's really where they should spend the money.
For an example, my gran downsized 4 or 5 years ago. Like, there's a very strict criteria of what we're looking for her to live in. Safe environment, typically surrounded by elderly people.
So that removes all the use and yobs and yeah,
exactly. And then the youths go, oh, I like this area. There's a bar to go to in the evening because it's quite a young full area. So naturally, our age groups will do the opposite of what you're saying in a free market. So you're almost.
But we lived better and more civilly when we had generational living, because if you have kids growing up around their elders, they learn those wise values and those things about
That's
respecting your
family
elders.
orientation, not location orientation. So like so you know, I spend time with my nan. I've just discussed that, but I don't necessarily will live in the same location as she would.
Yeah. But if you had generational opportunity, so let's say there was a development where, because at the moment, if you go to like most developments, they're built for like young couples and things like that, right? But if you had options where there could be young couples and elderly people and other people that live in a place, I'm not saying it's perfect, but there is something in that to have.
Statistically out there, for those listening that still hang on this farm, is that we are on the route to a later living crisis, and
Yeah.
there is a known shortfall right now for later living, and there is a forecast to be a crisis version of a shortfall, a chronic shortage of shortfall for later living and elderly people living in too large of properties, and also for care as well. But we're digressing a little bit. I think ultimately it comes back down to what I've had a very, very small glimpse in government meetings, very, very small. No, I'm not professing at all to be a politician, but part of some of the things I've gone to, I've been in the room and with some really senior politicians, and I can tell you for a fact that they are, for the most part, disconnected with what happens on the real ground, and what they love to do is talk and instruct reports and instruct surveys, and then bring in experts for opinions, and then those experts give some solutions. But if those solutions are, sometimes they're genuinely instructed, they can't be too minutiae, because the government, from a business point of view, is a 1.2 trillion pound organization. So the instructions they need is kind of like a big action to tackle a large solution. And to be honest, like, it all points down towards facial recognition tracking for instant, it just comes back down to that, rather than minutia local community. They say it's important, it's needed, and they'll say they're doing it, but they won't enforce a task force for, like, or something similar for local areas to really go and boots on the ground and really try to, bring the community out. They leave that to charities and to smaller organizations, and just say they're going to provide some grant support for them, or some loan support for them, or some tax incentive for them to do that. Whereas the government themselves, that's their solution to that problem. Now they're moving on to, putting data chips in people then. So if you start breaking the law,
Socialism turns to communism really quick.
I gotta go. But lovely to see you guys. I'll see you in a few weeks. And
happy
That's
birthday,
easy later, mate.
cheers, mate. See you later.
Birthday. All right, last one then, guys, just before we shoot off here, because this is, I don't know if you guys know any of these theme parks, but so for the listeners, I'll just bring up some stuff on the screen again. So there's quite a few theme parks going bust and falling on their ass. So Ride Over, it's a huge loss for families. All the UK theme parks that have closed in recent years and the ones that are at risk. So the theme park is the third in the UK to close in recent months. So just reading an article as well. So rising costs of ride parts, electricity and food were behind the closure, with locals left gutted by the news. The theme park is the latest in recent months to have been forced to close its doors. Just last month, Leisure Island Fun Park on Canvey Island confirmed it would be shutting down for 20 years. The Essex theme park underwent a refurbishment in 2021, but hasn't explained the reason for the closure. And there's, I think, two major theme parks that have just gone into administration, and a couple other smaller ones over the years. And I mean, rising costs of electricity, all this other stuff, and then national employment, NI going up as well soon, because obviously a lot of minimum wage jobs at these sort of places. It's kind of just showing, isn't it, what's really happening in the fallout of our economy. What do you guys think? Because this is going to play out, isn't it?
Well, for me, like these, like, I wouldn't class as infrastructure, but what I mean by that is that, like, these physical businesses, I would say right now that the UK is not a good place for these types of physical businesses at all.
Yeah.
So I think that is, as you've already hit the nail on the head, really, the environment isn't good for it. So yeah, I can see why they're struggling.
You know, if you combined coming out of a cost of living crisis that we've essentially been in for the people that spend money in the economy in the UK, like going to theme parks, doing things and spending money to other businesses, and you punish, theme parks deem like they're a big company, but they're probably not a massive business. I'd like to see the sort of turnover of this typical business. But let's say you've got, I don't know, 800 people going in every day at 40 quid. That is not what I would call a conglomerate. Yeah, I know, but not like essentially not like a huge company. So it's going to benefit the bigger businesses that can ride out. So what will happen is this: if it is independent, Park Home will shut down. A larger firm will buy it at a better value, share the operational costs of what they have against. So it's supporting growth, from the top upwards, which I'm not a massive believer of. I think that the foundations of any country should be built on SME businesses and the small businesses that support the workforce, the people around them, the micro economies, and also getting them punished from the staffing of the micro economies. So yeah, it's just unfortunately reality. I couldn't ever see myself running a business like a theme park personally. I like building necessity businesses, businesses that are required regardless. Like if you look at our surveying business, there's over 1 million planning applications submitted every year in the UK. Every one of those planning applications need a measure survey before the architect can design a proposed drawing. Great. Service required, planning's required, housing's required, highways are required. I like that type of business. I don't think I'd ever be in the sort of non-necessity business. Even my business before property was food. It was you need it. You can't not buy it. You can't go, maybe I'll buy that next year, or maybe we'll go to the theme park next summer. It isn't something that you can put off. So personally, as a member of the public, we need to be focusing more on the SME side of things, and that is not punishing small businesses with national insurance change. And then also from a business hat, if you look at, for an example, big shout out James Sinclair, he runs a amusement park, right? And it's a seasonal business. So he would have massive Easters, massive summers, and then be really, really quiet in the periods where he doesn't have people in there because of school. So what did he then do? He goes, right, what do I do with this particular asset, which is a liability in the winter and an asset in the summer? He then put on a children's care centre that runs for kids before school. So what he's now got is a regular income, because his care is a requirement. People are being born. Rates are down. People are being born. And it's bringing in revenue for those winter months where it's difficult to keep the cash flow going because you're not having kids flood or families flood through the front gate. So I think there's also an element of responsibility from a business ownership perspective that could have been aided by creativity. But then also equally, the government is not helping.
Yeah. And neither is our energy policy, which is probably one of the biggest reasons for these theme parks. They're going to consume a lot of electricity. And if we're 4x what the kind of consumption in America on our electricity kilowatts per hour, then that must be one of the big factors for why these theme parks closed down. And then you add the minimum wage increases and the NI increases on top of that. It must just be brutal running any bricks and mortar business. Like restaurants and stuff are going to really suffer. I think we'll see restaurant chains suffer over the next year as well as a fallout of government policy. But it's sad to see, what we're losing theme parks. That's fucking sad, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, the government probably doesn't mind that because it'll go back to ecology. So didn't they have that issue with the Disneyland they wanted to build in the UK, but obviously can't get planning permission because of ecology?
Ecology, yeah. Mental. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting one to touch on because obviously we've spoken about big companies going bust in the construction sector for various reasons, but now we're seeing the economic fallout of government policy, and it's we're going to see more this year. So
well, when I went to Legoland, so obviously Legoland has as a consumer, if you want to go to Legoland and obviously experience it, it is relatively, it will cost you. It'll cost you. Especially if you're, it's expensive. Like a hot dog there was £13, but to be honest with you, it's that's kind of the going rate nowadays. Like they have a hotel. They're trying to. You can see they're trying to diversify their income. They have a couple of hotels there, which obviously useful for the theme park, and every ride in addition to the photos, they like put on these things for like my kids. We only wanted to go to Legoland because my kids were desperate to get what is called as a driver's license, and it's basically a plastic card. It's just a fake. It's a fake. It's a big driver's license for kids, and it was a big driver to go to Legoland. And sometimes these very simple initiatives can drive footfall because then their friends in school have one, and then they come back and like, I really want a driver's license, and like, oh God, a holiday time, what do we do? Oh, I know, we can go to Legoland and get them a driver's license. Everything will be good. And that driver's license for a small bit of plastic like this big costs like £25. So
25 quid.
you don't need 20.
That's fucking mad. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely innovation that they can use to try and increase margins and try and increase revenue. But
the problem with Legoland, just there that you're saying, Dorian, you got merchandise and hotels, so they're only selling. They're only as an upsell, in my opinion. That's not.
Sorry,
it's not an indirect.
Yeah. So they bolted on other activities that you don't necessarily on the same grounds that you could do out of season. Obviously, they had to build a building for that, where they've got indoor golf, indoor like archery, and all that sort of stuff. Where they'd also target in addition to people for Legoland. It's like if you can go and do that anytime, really. But I do agree with what you say, Monley. The majority of that, like if you look at Pareto's rule, 80% of all of their infrastructure and business probably only accounts for 20% of their actual net margin, where the 20% of like the bolt-ons they're trying to do is the bits that they try. It's probably accounted for 80% of their net margin, more than likely, or reducing the net loss anyway.
it would be interesting, wouldn't it, like what Jack was saying before, to see like how a theme park or a Legoland, what does their books look like? How much margin they're really making?
I've already looked at, so I'm looking at Thorpe Park, which is the one that I know that's Surrey based, and it estimates that they turn over a revenue of 146 million. It says dollars, I don't know why, which is an estimate revenue per employee of 316,000. Merlin Entertainment's reported global revenues of 2.1 billion. So they obviously own 6 other parks or other endeavours. An increase. Merlin do, there you go. An 8% increase from previous years in 2023, which is pretty good going, and an adjusted EBITDA of 662 million. So that is an EBITDA of 29%. The company experienced a pre-tax profit of 214 million, so 10% margin on the turnover.
Thought that'd be just an interesting one to close it on, just for our listeners as well, just being aware of the difficulties of bricks and mortar properties, bricks and mortar businesses in the UK, just suffering massively. Energy costs being one of the biggest factors that affects all of us. And then the national employment rises, huge tax rises, 25% corporate tax. It's just a squeeze from all angles.
Just to touch on that, Daniel Priestley's like praise of running a business is run a business that's like multifaceted into different countries, that's digital, because then you don't have any friction to put it into a new market. Whereas if you are bricks and mortar, you're really focused on the locality of it. And you look at like tech companies that can easily scale into multinational facets. So
interesting conversation today. Nice one. Appreciate everyone listening. Thank you very much. Again, make sure you subscribe. Just click the button. It's so easy to do. Make sure you subscribe, even though there's an argument for subscribers not being as relevant these days with the way algorithms work. It's generally more promoted and push content. So then make sure you share it as well. Share it with people, just literally click the little share button, send it on WhatsApp, put it in your group chats, send it to friends and whatever. Whoever's going to find it useful, it's all beneficial to us. So we can keep growing this podcast, get some more guest speakers on, which we want to try do this year, get some real big hitting business owners and all kinds of other interesting people, so we can hash through and have some candid conversations. So big love. Thank you for watching, and see you next week. Episode 51. Bye-bye.
Roundup sound. Ooh, yeah. Real estate deal. We lay